There's no other river like it. There's no other smell. I've never smelt another river quite like it. I've never seen the colour of the water of the Waikato River. It's a really interesting green. Green's my favourite colour because of the Waikato River. So there's a lot of things about the river that I didn't really know about, but they're kind of like me, and I think I look a bit like the river. And all the people that I know from my marae, we kind of have a look, and I think we fit, just like our wakatoa fit nicely on the river. Like they just sit there really nicely and they belong there, and I think Waikato people, like from where I'm from, we fit there too. Ko taupiri te maunga, ko Waikato te awa, ko pōtetau te whiro te tangata. He piko he taniwha, Waikato taniwherau. Taupiri is the mountain, Waikato is the river, pōtetau te whiro is the chief. At every bend a chief, Waikato, the river of 100 chiefs. I grew up on a marae community with a number of other Māori families. My grandparents were founders with other families of Turangawawa marae. They floated down on a barge with Princess Te Puea. I think our identity as an iwi is built around the river. And part of that, I guess, is when you have all your land confiscated, which we did in the 1860s. The one important metaphor or signifier that connected us to that region, even though we didn't have land, was our relationship with the river. The river was something that couldn't be taken away from us. It was something that was deeply embedded inside us, this relationship with the Waikato River. There are all sorts of ways that the river has become a commodity, with the power generators, with the federated farmers, people who just want to use the water. So that when you start breaking the river down into we just want to use the water because that's the part that's valuable, and they focus primarily on the water. I think that people would say that the water is the resource. The river is a resource, but mainly they're just looking at the water, and they separate it from the other parts of it, like the banks and the ecosystems and the other life that's in the river. Whereas when I'm talking about Tupunawa, the river, I'm talking about the whole thing, including everything. My own iwi, we now partly, we're co-governors of that river, and they are Māori, and so they also have to think about the river as a commodity. And although their primary aim in this relationship with the other stakeholders is about looking after the well-being and the health, but I think in that business environment, it's hard to separate a natural resource from the commodity opportunity, or the opportunities, the financial opportunities that are there. So when you have Māori tikanga, or ways of doing things, customs and best practice, I hate that word best practice, but practices that you grew up with, and how sometimes those practices cannot be reconciled with some of the more modern ways of using water and thinking about practices. So there is a conflict sometimes with traditional ways and modern ways, and also with science and tikanga. And it's about finding solutions or finding ways of coming together in which people feel that they're heard and that they can participate in the decision making of the river. I think anything that's worth doing is pretty hard. It's just a matter of getting the right balances in there and having the right people making decisions and trying to be inclusive, and not leaving people out, and maybe not always making profit the end point, or giving it more value than other parts of of what the river can do and what the river stands for people.